Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for your kind introduction and your kind invitation to attend this conference as a keynote speaker. I would like to especially say thank you to the president of the university, the vice president of the university, Professor Aroni, and the chair of the conference, Professor Damrang, the dean of the faculties of accounting faculty of business administration, the faculty members and students and researchers who are attending and participating in this conference. Today, as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of this university, it is an important occasion to also remind ourselves that climate education is an important aspect of today's education. So in this room, we got important leaders who are world-leading researchers in the higher education in their own specific area. So my focus of today's keynote is not only on curriculum changes or curriculum design or curriculum transformation, but I will be focusing on how we address the issue of climate change collectively. Yesterday, we had a discussion over the dinner, and I was so pleased to hear that this university has already embedded climate change within the infrastructure. And 80% of the energy is being produced through solar and other renewable platforms. So this is wonderful to see that the university is playing a leading role in embedding climate change within its own infrastructure. And let me begin with the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, these SDGs need not to be looked into isolation. Now, the SDGs, we need to look into it collectively. And the climate change related SDG 13 basically weave together very nicely in each SDG. It is very well connected with all other SDGs. So if we look into climate change, it is related to SDG 1, poverty as well. So if there are any extreme events, floods or disaster, it displaces massive number of people internally within the country, and people end up in poverty. So climate change is related to poverty as well. Also, if we look into the SDG 3, good health, climate change is related to public health. Extreme weather events are affecting our human lives, our human health. So when we look into climate change, we need to connect it with all other areas. And as universities are providing education in science, in psychology, in business, in social sciences, we need to embed climate change in every aspect of education. And that's why we need to embed sustainability and these SDGs within the curriculum throughout the university. Now, this is very interesting slides. It is basically showing the climate risk index in the 20 most affected country in 2024, according to the Global Climate Risk Index. Now, the index, which is known as CRI, is developed by the the German Watch, and it basically ranks countries based on their vulnerability to climate change. In the 20 countries here we can see are mainly the developing countries. So we can see that several key indicators are listed here, and this index captures the total fatalities per 100 1,000 people and the percentage of the population affected from climate change and extreme event. It measures the economic impact through losses as a percentage of a country's GDP. The index also considers the absolute numbers behind these tragedies. The presence of such a diverse group of nations in the top 20 tells us two fundamental things. First, it confirms that the impact of climate change are not a distant future. They are happening now with measurable consequences on lives. Similarly, it highlights a profound inequality. These countries, often facing the most severe economic impacts, are frequently those that have contributed the least to the historical emissions driving this change. This slide, therefore, is more than a ranking. It is a stark illustration of global climate injustice and an urgent call for resilience building and coordinated international actions. It reminds us that behind each country, name are millions of people whose security and prosperity are directly tied to our collective response to this crisis. Now, the title on this slide tells a critical and undeniable story. Climate change is real, and the ASEAN region is bearing its brunt. The data we see here, covering the years 2012 to 2020, gives us again a stark and sobering snapshot of what that brunt actually looks like on the ground. It catalogs the disasters that have directly impacted the lives and livelihood of thousands of people in Southeast Asia. The most frequent disasters by an overwhelming margin is flooding, with 1,089 events recorded in this period. That's nearly 5 times more than the next common category. And this is not a coincidence. It is a direct signal. Rising sea level, changing rainfall patterns, and more intense storms are the hallmark of our changing climate. And the data shows that the disaster most clearly linked to climate change are floods, storms, wind events, landslide, drought, wildfires, and this collectively dominate the landscape of the risk. Now, the table is more than just a statistic. Each number represents communities displaced, harvest ruined, infrastructure destroyed, and economies disrupted. The high frequency of these events paints a clear picture of a region that is in the front line of climate vulnerability. So, what the message is very clear here: for ASEAN countries, building resilience against climate change is not a future policy option. It is the most urgent and present imperative. Now, this is one of our research papers that we published very recently, in which we shows the relationship between culture and innovation. Now, climate change is affecting each country differently, and each country has a unique cultural context. And climate change is perceived differently in different cultures. So what we look into this country, we looked into climate data from 15 developing countries between 2015 to 2019. And we found in this research that national culture is an important determinant when it comes to climate change. So this is a very important takeaway from this research. Second, we have another publication in the Journal of Environmental Management, where we looked into sustainability targets and whether those sustainability targets at firm level, whether it drive innovation in BRICS economies or not. Again, we looked into 2009 to 2018 data from BRICS economies, and many companies have actually embedded sustainability within the executive remuneration contract as a performance measurement tool. So we found that when we include sustainability target as a performance management system or as a performance management tool, it improves corporate performance and corporate environmental innovation. This is another article that which we publish in Environmental Systems and Decisions, where we looked into sustainability targets in employment contracts. So historically, employees were rewarded based on their financial performance, how much they contributed to the financial growth of the company. But nowadays, many companies, they are including environmental targets in the executive remuneration contracts. So we found that when sustainability targets are included in employees' contract, then they are likely to take environmental initiatives. And those initiatives are likely to enhance or improve corporate sustainability performance. And now moving to the concept of climate literacy. Now, this is not just about knowing that climate change is happening. It is a far more powerful and essential skill set for navigating our shared future. Now, if we look into the climate literacy, we need to see it as a pyramid of competency. And we need to start with providing the basic foundation science of climate change to our student. It begins with understanding the basic of those climate system, climate science, and how it is affecting the human lives around the world. But also we need to adopt a system thinking approach, which means that we have to see a connection between the environment, the society, and the global economy. And that interaction is very important because extreme events, when they occur, they affect human lives, food security, public health, migration, and brings financial instability in the region. At the same time, we also need to do a critical analysis. When we say critical analysis, it means we need to use data set. We need to use historical data and then make decisions, make resilience building initiatives based on the historical data. And also, the true purpose of climate literacy is to spark informed action. This means empowering individuals, communities, and leaders to make responsible decisions, from personal consumptions to collective policy that are grounded in evidence. And this action culminates in engagement and advocacy. It's about finding our voice in communicating effectively and collaborating across boundaries in educating for the changes we need to see. And when you put all these pieces together, it forms the foundational science to achieve advocacy. And advocacy is an important aspect of climate literacy and climate awareness. And if we do that, it means we will create awareness at a mass level. Now, if we look into the impact of climate literacy, this is not just about knowing the science. True climate literacy is essential catalyst that empowers both individuals and communities. It enables sustainable lifestyles, the conscious daily choices that reduce our carbon footprint, and it fosters profound social unity, the shared understanding and collective purpose we need to move forward together. From this core, two powerful cycles emerge, creating a virtuous circle for our society. On one side, we see the path to a thriving society. When literacy leads to sustainable action and social cohesion, it naturally enhances cooperation. People work together, not in silos. This unified effort builds genuine resilience, the capacity to withstand shocks and stresses arising from floods, extreme climate event. And a resilient society, by its very nature, reduces vulnerability for everyone within it. On the other side, we see the imperative of stewardship. This is our long-term covenant with the future. Now, climate literate stewards means that we actively protect our future generations. We safeguard their environment and their resources, and that reduces the long-term cost associated with climate disaster. So this is our map. Climate literacy is our launching point. It fuels the twin engines for a thriving society and responsible stewardship, which together create a resilient, unified, and sustainable future. And this is the interconnected system that we need to work and that we need to develop. Now, let's start with this slide. On the left side, we can see that the current situation is that we are not starting from zero. Climate education exists, but in a very fragmented state. We see a scattered curriculum where climate topics appear in some subjects and not others, is random addition rather than a coherent cross-disciplinary thread. And this leads directly to incomplete learning about climate change. Students, they get pieces of the puzzle, but they do not get the full picture about the causes and consequences of the climate change. Now, compounding with this is the uneven teacher training. We cannot expect educators to confidently teach what they haven't been trained in. And without consistent professional development, even the best curriculum resources would fall short. Now, this inconsistency feeds into a devastating greener career disconnect, which means that students are learning about climate problems, but they are not actually embedding it in their daily lives and in their daily routine work activities when they work within the organizations. And finally, the most critical area is the unequal access. This is not just about which school have solar panels, it's about which student have teachers with deep training, which classroom have high quality, local relevant resources, and which communities see climate education as a core priority. When these elements are a privilege, not a right, we fail in our mission. All these issues, scattered approach, uneven support, incomplete learning, disconnected future, and system inequity, it brings lots of issues and challenges. Now, they create a widening gap, and we need solutions. And these solutions need to be embedded in the curriculum. So we need an integrated approach, and which means that the climate education is embedded in the DNA of every discipline, from maths to physics, from computer sciences to geography. And we also need robust teacher support. We need training, professional development, and supporting our teachers that they can also train and support those students who would be pursuing careers in different organizations. So skill development is an important area. And finally, we need clear career pathways. So if you are doing an accounting degree, you are likely to become an accountant. And many universities have introduced environmental science degrees these days, providing specific climate-related education and training. And companies have also introduced roles for environmental officers, environmental directors, where people and students graduating from the environment department can actually pursue their role in these departments. So we need clear career pathways. And the core principle here is that we need strategic integration. When we say strategic integration, it means bringing in climate education from top to down across the curriculum in different subject areas. And more importantly, the second point is local relevance. Local relevance means that we need to talk to our students about climate issues in the region, in the country. Bringing in the local context is very, very important. If we are talking about climate change, climate disasters in other part of the world, they are important to understand. But we also need to bring in the local context. And critical thinking is very important because we don't need to just teach the basics of climate change. We need to train the students in such a way that they can understand, they can analyze the data, and they can also communicate with the local stakeholders in bringing any climate-related change. And we also need to continuously evolve our curriculum. If we have developed curriculum in 2010, 2014, we need to revisit, we need to revise, continuously revise the curriculum so that climate-related issues are embedded. And here is a very interesting pedagogical toolkit. And we need to approach climate education from multiple perspectives. The starting point is active learning. By active learning here, I mean that students need to be actively involved when it comes to climate education. So when we give them assignment, case study approach can be used, where we use local case studies and students learn about the local climate issues, the causes, the consequences. And we can also use simulation games where they can play around the climate data. They can apply complex models using AI machine learning to analyze the impact of current climate activities and to also analyze the impact of any future climate events. So we need a problem-based approach. The second point is collaboration, very important, which means that within the university, different faculties, different departments need to talk to each other. They need to collaborate. And when it comes to collaboration, it means that students do projects together from different faculties. Faculty members, they support them, they develop them, they train the students in completing such projects. And we also need to do community projects where local community members, local stakeholders, they are invited to the university, where we look for local problems and collectively identify local solution to those local problems. And more importantly, I like the third point, which is the reflective aspect. We all need to reflect. What is my carbon footprint? What is my lifestyle, consumption? And also, as a student, we need to include climate change within our grading system. We can give additional marks in grades and certificates to those students who are taking initiatives, who are bringing new climate-related ideas within the university, within the department, or within the local community, or within his or her own rural or whatever area the student is coming from. So this is very important. So we need to encourage students to keep learning journals, to keep diaries where they reflect how each person is contributing to a positive impact on the climate change. And ethical debates. Ethical debate, this can be done at departmental level, at university level. It would not cost a lot of money, but it can create a debate about the impact of climate change on the economy, on the society, and on the community. And finally, the technology side is very important. Now, students, they are younger, they are very good with using AI, with technology, with smartphones. We need digital storytelling. We need to communicate the climate-related initiatives widely so that other organizations can also benefit from it. So if this university has a nice climate-related initiative, it can be adopted by other universities and other higher educational institutions. In technology, we also need data visualizations, which means that we can graphically display climate data, and students, community members, societies members, they can easily understand such data. And here is a framework. This is very interesting framework for academics, for faculty members, for teachers sitting here, for researchers who are attending this conference. How we can embed climate change in our curriculum. Now, we need to introduce climate change in every subject, and students need to be engaged with climate-related topics from the very start when they enroll in the university. And we can include small chapters, small pieces of information at the start. In year one, they get the basics. In year two, we can then introduce some advanced level content on modeling, data analysis. And in year three, then we can bring in an interdisciplinary perspective, which means students from computer science, they collaborate with students from accounting, business, and finance faculty. And more importantly, in final year, students need to be climate leaders. In other words, they should be in a position to take strategic decisions, because these students, when they graduate, they would be managers in their organizations. And when they are managers or owners or entrepreneurs, they will be taking decisions which will be affecting the society. So it is important that we also bring in the leadership aspect when it comes to climate change. So it's a spiral, again, a repetitive activity throughout the academic program. And on my right-hand side, I can see a very nice framework where we can do low-effort activities, like having guest lecture like this, discussion topics during the term. But we can also do high-effort activities which will involve developing a stand-alone module on data analysis, data modeling relating to climate change. And we can also use a case study approach where we look for a local incidence of flooding, extreme event, and see how it affected the local community, how the society responded, how the emergency workers coordinated in an extreme climate event. And student can learn from it, they can benefit from it, and then they can practice it when they join the organization. And on the right hand side of the top, we can have a full course redesign. Again, high effort, high impact activity where climate change can be embedded thoroughly within the curriculum. So the more important point here is for educational institution is to support teachers. And when we say support teacher, it means providing them professional development courses, where they can attend workshops, where they can learn also some new skills, and then they can transform those skills to the students. And we also need to create a database of climate resources. It can be available online on the university website, or it can be available internally where every faculty member can access such resources. So it would be like a training toolkit for the teachers, for the faculty members, and they can access those resources. So for teachers, for faculty member, this is a very nice toolkit of how we can embed climate literacy. So first, as a teacher, if I'm going into the classroom, I need to carry out a self-audit. I need to assess myself how much learning I have about climate issues. And this self-audit is very important because if I need additional training, I can attend a workshop, I can learn new skills, and then I can bring that to the classroom. Second, we need to look into our curriculum, individual courses. So if I'm teaching 4 courses in a year, I need to check the curriculum. Is climate change there as a topic? Have I included this in the assignment, in the coursework, in the assessment, in the exam? Briefly, not a lot, but how much coverage I have in my curriculum. And then we can teach, but we can also evaluate. We can check the performance of the students. Whether the changes that we introduce have brought any impact on our students. Have they come up with any new ideas, with new tools, with new models, with new frameworks with regard to climate change? And this is very important, the connect side, that we need to talk to each other with regards to how we can bring the change. And if I have brought a change in my course, I can share such best practice with my friend, with my colleague, with another professor in another department. And we can take a leadership role here when it comes to climate literacy. And this is a very interesting slide. It shows that companies around the world have now started reporting data on emissions. Scope 1 emission, which is the direct emission generated by the company, or the emissions relating to the use of petrol, diesels, and other kind of energies. And scope 2 and scope 3 are the indirect emissions. So companies around the world have now started reporting data on emission. So we also need to train our students so that they learn about emissions, and when they go to the organization, they can then understand how their decisions are affecting corporate emissions. So although we have some interesting ideas that we can use to embed climate change within the curriculum, but we have challenges. Those challenges are related to organizational structures in different parts of the higher educational institutions. Everywhere, I'm not referring to a specific institution, and there are problems with processes. In some institutions, it takes very longer to get approval from the board, from the higher up in the organization. And there are resource-based challenges, financial challenges. We obviously need money to invest in climate literacy, in arranging climate-related events, and there is a budgeting issue as well. And the human capacity building is also an important aspect. We need to invest in our teachers. We need to train them, to develop them, to upgrade their skills so that they can transform those skills in the classroom. And this can bring a change, a cumulative effect. Also, we have challenges with regards to curriculum because integrating complex climate issues in every subject is quite challenging. Yesterday, I visited the school of faculty of nursing here, and I was quite happy to see that such innovative measures are taken by the faculty of nursing as well. So I can give you an example that even when it comes to medicine, health sciences, climate change is relevant because we are talking about waste, medical disposal. So it's not only a business issue, it's not only a social sciences issue, it is related to every discipline within the university. So here is a roadmap. What we need to do is to integrate climate change as a strategic aspect of our curriculum, and we need to introduce projects in different departments, in different faculties, in different programs, and we need to also prioritize which subjects need to be the first one where we can introduce climate change. And more importantly, this is a very important aspect. When we talk about the impact of climate change, it has impact on human health. People get injured, they lost their relatives, their lives, and there is a mental health effect as well. So when we talk about climate change, we also need to talk about the social well-being of our student, the mental well-being of our student, how we can support our student so that when they graduate, they can understand the emotion aspect. They can also support the local, their neighbors, their communities in case there are any extreme climate related events. So social emotional learning is very important, and we have to empower our students so that they can then empower the local community, the local society where they are coming from. So when we look into the measurement and the impact aspect of climate change or climate literacy, we need to focus on the outcomes as well. That if, as a university, if we have introduced interventions, if we have introduced climate change, what are the outcomes? We need to reflect on quarterly basis, on yearly basis, in the form of reports, discussions, events, workshops, to see where we stand and be open and transparent and get ideas from teachers, from professors, from researchers, from students to see how we can improve climate-related activities in terms of embedding it within the curriculum. So feedback system is very important. Getting feedback from students, feedback from staff, feedback from everyone within the organization. And we need to celebrate our success, our achievements. So yesterday, I was very pleased to hear that the university has got accreditations with regards to from the Times. So this is very, the impact ranking is very important, where if we do something better, why not? Let's celebrate those achievements. So, in terms of the barriers, we need to also use a transparent approach, an equitable approach, because there is issue of climate justice as well, which means that we need that climate related opportunities to be available to everybody. Universal access is very important, and the same apply to resources equity, which means everybody within the university, every teacher has access to the same level of resources which are available centrally in the SharePoint. And I personally like this slide in my presentation. So when we talk about climate literacy, we need to develop climate literacy policy at university level, as an institution. And to develop such policy, we need to engage with stakeholders. And the stakeholders are the teachers, the students, the university itself, and the community and the government. Now, with regards to the teachers, we discussed the role of the teachers, that teachers can bring an important change by changing the curriculum, by bringing climate change within the curriculum, and by educating climate support on campus, and by providing feedback to the university leadership team of how we can bring change at subject level, at course level, or at university level. So teachers are very important, but obviously support, resources, and training would also be needed. Student, very important stakeholder. We need student voice, where student can take initiatives, green initiatives, they can launch new projects, and those students can be awarded certificates, and they can be, their success and achievements can be celebrated by the university. And every student in the university need to actively participate in climate related activities, whether it is on campus or within the community where the student is coming from. Universities, we also discussed the role of university is to train faculty and to also embed climate change within the curriculum, but also assess the outcomes, set some targets. Each year we have these key performance indicators, we have these targets, and at the end of the year we assess those targets, how we have performed, and we write a report about our climate performance. Community is very important. We need to collaborate with local community, with local schools. Our teachers can visit the local schools. They can also share examples of how teachers in those schools can bring climate related content within the curriculum, and how they can bring climate literacy to the little children even in school. So with communities, we can also hold community engagement workshop where community members are invited to campus. We arrange discussions, informal discussion. We listen to their voices, their concerns, and then we take actions. We bring in initiatives. And finally, more important one here is the government. We need to engage with the district government, with the provincial government, and with the federal government. Our students, they are working in different government departments. How we can benefit from them? We can invite them, we can develop partnership with those students. Some of those students will be working in the environment ministries. How we can benefit from those students. And again, government has an important role to play, because government is setting standards with regards to climate change, monitoring those standards, allocating funding. So we need to work actively with government, with community, with university, with other universities in the region, with students and with faculty members. So these are very, very important stakeholders when it comes to climate literacy, policy development, because policy side is more important. And there are some practical steps that educators can develop. One of those is that we need to do climate audit at faculty level. And then we can also do climate audit at university level. Where we stand, what are our targets, and how we have achieved those targets. And those audit related documents would be very useful when it comes to external accreditations. And we also need to develop the climate related lesson in each module, in each course. And culture is very important. And this morning when we had a coffee session outside, we were discussing that we can display these sustainable development goals in every building so that students can see what is the purpose of life, that we need to contribute to the society, we need to contribute positively in achieving these sustainable development goals. And also, universities can develop free, accessible online resources, which can be available on the university website, which people can access remotely in the country and in the region. This would also be a very good initiative to support people who do not have access to training and resources, because access to resources is very, very costly. And this is very important. There are a number of accreditations in area of climate change, sustainability, and environment. One is the prime accreditations, which is the principle of responsible management education. This accreditations body looked into how universities, educational institutions, they are integrating SDGs in business education. So this is mainly for embedding sustainability within the business school, within the school of accounting, finance, marketing, and all those functional areas. Something very important. It's not a symbolic ranking or accreditation, but it has a real impact. It means that we are doing something, and that's why it is being externally acknowledged by those accreditation bodies. We have the impact ranking. The AACSB has also included provision criteria for embedding ethics, sustainability, and climate change within the educational curriculum. And there is another interesting ranking called the Eco Campus, which is very interesting. It's more about environmental management system within the university, or EMS certification. It's more about energy, waste, and emission tracking platform within the university. So educational institutions can bring a change by supporting the students, by supporting the teacher, by developing policies relating to climate change, short documents in consultation with the local stakeholders, with the local government, with the local community, and with the local businesses. Universities are graduating thousands of students every year, and those students are now managers, leaders. Why not engage with them, talk to them, and they can share their best practices relating to climate change. So finally, I would conclude on this slide that we need to take actions when it comes to climate change. And those actions are relating to our collective responsibility. And the collective responsibility is relating to climate literacy. Everybody needs a very good understanding of how climate change is related to their discipline. So if I'm teaching finance, I need to understand about financial sustainability. If I'm teaching marketing, I need to understand how sustainability is related to products, product market, or to product promotion, or to how it can be embedded within the marketing curriculum. Similarly, the more important thing is critical skills development, where we challenge students, we ask them tough questions, we introduce local case studies, and this would really transform the curriculum and skill development of our student. And ethical framework is very important. Now, ethical framework here means that we need to set some values that we want our student to be open, to be honest, to be transparent, to be good citizen, and to be contributing positively to the economic activities, to the social well-being within their local community and society. So I have mentioned 100% coverage here, which means it should be briefly embedded somewhere in every module, in every course, in every design. And this decade is very important. And if we look into past couple of years, we have seen floods, disaster, extreme events. We need to reflect. If these type of incidents happen, are we prepared as a society, as a community, as a collectively, all these stakeholders, whether they are ready or not, and we need to embed resilience building, introduce resilience building measures within our student together with our key stakeholder. So I would stop here. And thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me about climate literacy.
Do you have any questions?
We will now open the floor for the Q&A sessions. Should any distinguished guests have a question for our keynote speakers, we warmly invite you to kindly raise them at this time.
ค่ะช่วงนี้ก็จะเป็นช่วง Q&A นะคะ Question and Answer ท่านใดมีคำถามเชิญได้เลยนะคะในห้องประชุมมีไหมคะ
We have one over there, please.
ไม่มาละ
First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming down to our university. We are the students of PhD 3. So before I like to ask 3 questions based on the slide. So when we talk about the framework, how would we embed the framework in the curriculum? Would be a standard module or it would be cross-functional? Let's suppose if I'm studying IT, how would I get this curriculum embedded into my course when you talk of the climate change? First question. And another one goes to the policy. So when we talk about the policy, I saw the framework. It's on the right extreme. We talk about the government. But based on, let's say, a question, being a student, I have a curiosity. Should be top to bottom? Should be the government initiative when we talk about the climate change? Because technically speaking, everything should have incentive when we talk about embedding such course into education. So how would we tackle those milestones, let's say, critical challenges? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. 2 questions. The first question that you asked was how we can embed it at subject level. So the framework I have shown, one of my slide was that we need to look into the program. If I'm teaching on an undergraduate degree program, it is a 4-year or 3-year degree program. I then need to identify subjects where it can be introduced at higher level. So there may be subjects where you introduce just a couple of slides. There may be a subject where you can introduce climate change topic as a lecture, complete lecture. And there can be a subject where you can have more content. So it depends on the subject nature. So the level of content would depend on the nature of the subject, but every subject we can try to bring in. That's one question, the answer to one question. The second question that you ask is about engaging with local policies, local standards. It's very important. This means that every country has developed policies, frameworks, goals. Personally, I would like my students to go to the Ministry of Climate Change or the Ministry of Environment website and download the policies. There can be an assignment on reviewing those policies. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the areas for improvement, and what recommendation we can also give to the government. So policies are available, but we need to engage with those policies. We need to read those policies. There was a report by the United Nations last year, I think, and the title of the report was, "Nobody reads our reports." So it means the United Nations, they develop some very important guidelines, very important policies, but if they look into the number of downloads. So it means people are not engaging with the policy. So thank you very much. That's a very important point that we need to engage. We need to read those documents. Yeah, did I answer your question? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the questions. And I have one more question from the audience in this hall. Regarding the measuring the impact of informed actions, you mentioned informed action in your lectures. One of the key pillars of climate literacy, you mentioned the informed actions, which involve making responsible personal and correctable decisions, right? Since the ultimate goal is to create a thriving society through resilience and stewardship, what metric or indicators do you suggest our university used to determine if their curriculum is actually leading to the real world outcome rather than just a theoretical knowledge?
Very interesting question. Thank you very much. And when we say informed action, it means we looked into numbers. We need to look into data. And the data, I would start with myself, let's say, as an individual. What is my own consumption? What is my personal energy footprint? What is my personal carbon footprint? Yeah. And a good example I can share here is, every day we go to the supermarket, we bring lots of plastics, shopping bags. How many plastic shopping bags we are using? So as an individual, I can start just with plastic waste awareness. Do I just throw it in the street? How I recycle this plastic? So this can be a starting point. I can have a strong carrier bag and I can use that for many, many years and every time. So this is just an individual example. And then these good practices we can share with our students. And similarly, in each subject, we can introduce metrics and targets. If we talk about banking and finance, banks these days, when they give loan to businesses, they will look into your financial statements. But at the same time, they will also look into your climate footprint, your carbon footprint, how much green initiatives you have introduced. So sustainable finance, so if you are teaching finance subject, we can bring in sustainable finance, green finance there. So every area we can try to connect, we can try to engage with climate change. Thank you.
Thank you for the useful advices and guidances. Okay.
ค่ะอ๋อมีอีกค่ะหนึ่งคำถามเชิญตอบ
We got one more
So my-
question. Sorry. Let me bring the microphone.
Thank you very much. I'm a faculty member of the Rajput Universities. My observation from social psychology approach in Thailand, we often initiate change, particularly the education change or curriculum change from the top-down policies, and you suggest bottom-up policies. So between the education level, higher education, compulsory education, or kindergarten education, which is the most important level that will reform this thinking and habit of climate education or climate curriculums?
Thank you very much, Professor. And I really like your question with regards to education. When we say education, whether it is primary education, colleges and universities. So it should be, from my perspective, it should be from the very first day, from childhood, children should have a very good understanding. And many countries have now actually introduced climate literacy at schools. And children these days, they are more aware compared to our generation. If we reflect and look back to the past 30, 40 years. So I fully agree, but universities have more autonomy. Universities have more discretion to bring a change because there is a flexibility. We can teach curriculum, we can basically redesign our curriculum, and there is more flexibility available compared to schools. But I fully agree that top-down approach sometimes may not fully work. We need also a bottom-up approach, and bottom-up approach would be much suitable for universities, and top-down I would say would be more suitable for schools and colleges where we have a national curriculum, and that national curriculum need to be delivered by the teachers. I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much. Yeah.
ขอบคุณท่านองค์ปาถกนะคะ Associate Professor ดร. Subhan Ullah ที่มาให้ความรู้ข้อคิดดีๆสำหรับการบรรยายที่ให้ทั้งความรู้และแรงบันดาลใจเกี่ยวกับประเด็นการเปลี่ยนแปลงสภาพภูมิอากาศและความยั่งยืนในหลักสูตรการศึกษาและได้มอบมุมมองที่มีคุณค่ายิ่งต่อการพัฒนาการศึกษาและสังคมขอบพระคุณท่านเป็นอย่างสูงค่ะ
Our sincere thanks to our distinguished keynote speakers, Associate Professor Dr.Subhan Ullah, for such an insightful, inspiring presentations. His discussions on climate literacy and the integration of climate change and sustainability across the curriculums has provided us with valuable perspectives for education and society. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us today.
ค่ะขอทุกท่านส่งเสียงปรบมือต้อนรับให้ท่านด้วยค่ะค่ะลำดับต่อไปจะเป็นการประกาศรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมในการประชุมวิชาการระดับชาติและนานาชาติครั้งที่ 4โดยการพิจารณามอบรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมครั้งนี้คณะกรรมการผู้ทรงคุณวุฒิจะพิจารณาจากบทความที่ส่งมาจากสถาบันต่างๆและได้ทำการตัดสินผลงานเป็นที่เรียบร้อยแล้วมาลุ้นกันนะคะว่าบทความไหนจะได้รับรางวัลกันขอเชิญทุกท่านรับชมและรับฟังวิดีทัศน์การประกาศผลรางวัลได้เลยค่ะ
We now move to the announcement of the Best Paper Awards, which have been carefully evaluated numerous submissions from various esteemed institutions by our distinguished panel of reviewers, and the results are now finalized. Please join us in viewing the official announcement video.
บทความวิจัยชั้นเรียนที่ได้รับคะแนนผลการประเมินสูงสุดมหาวิทยาลัยราชพฤกษ์ทิวาพรเทียบสอนชัยกุล อาลิสา สุวรรณไตร รุจิยา นาทอง และนิติศักดิ์ ไพโรจน์ รางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง การพัฒนาความสามารถในการเรียนรู้คำศัพท์ภาษาไทย โดยวิธีการสอนแบบตอบสนองด้วยท่าทาง TPR ร่วมกับสื่อผสมของนักเรียนชาวต่างประเทศ ชั้นประถมศึกษาปีที่ 3 โรงเรียน XCL American School of Bangkok
วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีตั้งตรงจิตพนิชยการ และวิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีตั้งตรงจิตบริหารธุรกิจ โพชัย อิทธิบำรุงรัก รางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง ผลของการใช้เกมการเรียนรู้ Game Based Learning ในการเรียนการสอนการเขียนโปรแกรมเบื้องต้น โดยใช้ code.org เป็นสื่อการสอนสำหรับนักเรียนระดับประกาศนียบัตรวิชาชีพ ชั้นปีที่ 2 วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีตั้งตรงจิตพนิชยการ วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีตั้งตรงจิตบริหารธุรกิจ4 ย่าน ถนอมนวล ถาปณะพงษ์ไพบูลย์ รางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง การพัฒนาผลสัมฤทธิ์ทางการเรียน โดยใช้การจัดการเรียนรู้แบบร่วมมือเทคนิค STAD เรื่องความรู้เบื้องต้นเกี่ยวกับการบัญชีสำหรับนักศึกษาระดับประกาศนียบัตรวิชาชีพชั้นสูง ชั้นปีที่ 1 วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีตั้งตรงจิตบริหารธุรกิจ4 ย่าน วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีวิมลบริหารธุรกิจ กนพงษ์ พันธ์สวัสดิ์และณัชพล หอมลำดวน รางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง ผลการจัดกิจกรรมการเรียนรู้แบบห้องเรียนกลับด้าน Flipped Classroom ในรายวิชาโปรแกรมฐานข้อมูล เรื่องการสืบค้น แก้ไข ปรับปรุงข้อมูลของนักศึกษาระดับประกาศนียบัตรวิชาชีพชั้นปีที่ 2 สาขาวิชาคอมพิวเตอร์ธุรกิจ วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีภูเก็ต อังคณานิยมจิต รางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัย เรื่องศึกษาผลสัมฤทธิ์ทางการเรียนวิชาภาษาจีนเพื่อการสื่อสารในชีวิตประจำวัน โดยใช้เทคนิคการสอนแบบบูรณาการเนื้อหาและภาษา CLIL ส่งเสริมทักษะการอ่านภาษาจีน เรื่องสร้างสื่ออาหารพื้นเมืองภูเก็ต ของนักเรียนระดับประกาศนียบัตรวิชาชีพชั้นปีที่ 2 วิทยาลัยเทคโนโลยีภูเก็ต บทความวิจัยที่ได้รับคะแนนผลการประเมินสูงสุดจำแนกตามกลุ่มสาขา กลุ่มศึกษาศาสตร์ มหาวิทยาลัยสยาม พรพิมลมุขขันธ์และนลินีสุดเสวตรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง ทักษะการบริหารของผู้บริหารที่ส่งผลต่อความเป็นองค์กรสมรรถนะสูงของสถานศึกษาสังกัดกรุงเทพมหานคร กลุ่มบริหารธุรกิจ มหาวิทยาลัยราชภัฏลำปางธิดารัตน์ศรีจันทร์สาวิตราปัญโยอัชราเมฆสุวรรณและขจรศักดิ์วงศ์วิราชรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่อง อิทธิพลของภาพลักษณ์ตราสินค้าที่ส่งผลต่อการตัดสินใจซื้อรองเท้ากีฬาแบรนด์เนมของกลุ่มผู้บริโภควัยรุ่น Gen Z จังหวัดลำปางกลุ่มสังคมศาสตร์มหาวิทยาลัยศรีนครินทรวิโรธณัฐริการผ่องบุรีและปรีชยานักฟ้อนรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่องปัจจัยที่ส่งผลต่อการยอมรับนวัตกรรมในการให้บริการชำระภาษีรถประจำปีของกรมการขนส่งทางบกของประชาชนกลุ่มเทคโนโลยีมหาวิทยาลัยฟาร์อีสเทิร์นรัญชนากันธเนศและสุพัฒนวรีทิพย์เจริญรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่องการพยากรณ์รายการหัตถการในแผนกรังสีวินิจฉัยโดยใช้เทคนิคการเรียนรู้ของเครื่องกลุ่มวิทยาศาสตร์สุขภาพมหาวิทยาลัยราชภัฏพระนครกัลพัฒน์โรจน์สิงห์เรือนแก้วแก้วอารีณรงค์ฤทธิ์ล่าพันธ์และวิชุดดาสุขจ้อยรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่องการประเมินประสิทธิภาพสารสกัดจากไมยราบและมะขามดีควาย ในการเป็นสารลดแรงตึงผิวจากธรรมชาติบทความวิชาการที่ได้รับคะแนนผลการประเมินสูงสุดมหาวิทยาลัยมหาสารคามชนัญชิดาสุพรรณทราศินีฤทธิเดชอัครวิทย์รอบคอบภัควัตรคูบุญยรักษ์และยานินตั้งพินโยพุทธิคุณรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่องการจัดเก็บภาษีเงินได้จากธุรกิจที่ไม่เกี่ยวข้อง UBTI ของมูลนิธิการวิเคราะห์เปรียบเทียบหลักการและแนวปฏิบัติระหว่างไทยและสหรัฐอเมริกาบทความวิจัยจากนักเรียนมัธยมศึกษาตอนปลายที่ได้รับคะแนนผลการประเมินสูงสุดโรงเรียนเตรียมอุดมศึกษายานวิทย์สิริปัญญาวิทย์วรทนโกเมนจรัสวงศ์วริศอิ่มอาเทศสวิทย์วีรยุทธวัฒนะและกอบชัยดวงรัตนเลิศรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยมจากผลงานวิจัยเรื่องแชทบอทอัจฉริยะสำหรับวิเคราะห์อารมณ์และพฤติกรรมของสัตว์เลี้ยงโดยใช้ Multimodal Generative AI The international research papers with the highest evaluation scores Mahidol University Juan Shi Yang โภชนันท์นิรมิตชัยนนท์ and โสวริธรชาญแสงสี awarded the Best Paper Award for the research paper entitled The Impact of Educational Resources on Learning Behavior and Academic Performance in Rural High Schools of Mianchi County, China.
ค่ะขอแสดงความยินดีกับทุกท่านที่ได้รับรางวัลในครั้งนี้ด้วยนะคะสำหรับผู้ที่ได้รับรางวัลบทความยอดเยี่ยม Best Paper Awards มหาวิทยาลัยจะนำส่งกิตติบัตรไปยังอีเมลที่ท่านได้จัดส่งบทความเข้ามา
Congratulations to our Best Paper Award recipients. Your outstanding contributions have truly enriched the academic excellence of this conference. Your certificates will be sent to the email address used for submissions.
ขอเชิญทุกท่านประเมินผลประชุมวิชาการระดับชาติและนานาชาติครั้งที่ 4 การใช้ AI เพื่อการเรียนรู้ตลอดชีวิตขับเคลื่อน SDG ผ่านการศึกษาในช่วงเช้าผ่านระบบ QR Code ที่แสดงบนหน้าจอ
Before we conclude this morning sessions, we kindly request your valuable cooperation in completing the evaluation form of the 4th Ratchaphuk National and International Conference by scanning the QR code currently displayed on the screen. We truly appreciate your time and your insightful contributions to these sessions.
และการประเมินผลช่วงบ่ายทุกท่านจะต้องประเมินผลผ่านระบบ QR Code จากห้องนำเสนออีกครั้งเพื่อรับเกียรติบัตรออนไลน์ค่ะท่านที่ไม่ได้ประเมินผลในช่วงเช้าและช่วงบ่ายจะไม่ได้รับเกียรติบัตรออนไลน์นะคะ
Please remember to complete the afternoon evaluation by scanning the QR code provided in each presentation room. Participants must complete both the morning and afternoon evaluations to qualify to receive the online certificate of participation. Please ensure that you have submitted your feedback for both sessions.
ค่ะสำหรับผู้นำเสนอผลงานวิจัยผู้เข้าร่วมฟังการนำเสนอขอให้ท่านเข้าไปดูข้อมูลในแต่ละห้องซึ่งสามารถดูรายละเอียดได้ที่เว็บไซต์ conference.rpu.ac.th หรือผ่านระบบ QR Code ที่ขึ้นทางหน้าจอได้เลยค่ะและขอให้ท่านที่ต้องนำเสนอเตรียมความพร้อมด้วยนะคะ
For all researchers, presenters, and participants, we kindly invite you to access your respective presentation rooms. Detailed information regarding each session can be found on our official website at conference.rpu.ac.th or by scanning the QR code currently displayed on the screen.
ค่ะ ทั้งนี้ผู้นำเสนอผลงานวิจัย สามารถรับเกียรติบัตรออนไลน์ ได้ตั้งแต่วันที่ 24 มกราคม และสามารถดาวน์โหลด รายงานการสืบเนื่องการประชุม proceedings ได้ที่เว็บไซต์ conference.rpu.ac.th ตั้งแต่วันที่ 14 กุมภาพันธ์เป็นต้นไปค่ะ
For our researchers and presenters, please be informed that your online certificates of recognitions will be available for download starting from January 24, 2026. Furthermore, the official conference proceedings will be published and available for download on our website, conference.rpu.ac.th from February 14, 2026 onwards.
สำหรับวันนี้ดิฉันดร.ประภัสสรกิติมโนรมและอาจารย์ชัยทัศน์บุญวิเศษเราทั้งสองขอยุติหน้าที่การเป็นพิธีกรในช่วงเช้าแต่เพียงเท่านี้ในนามของมหาวิทยาลัยราชพฤกษ์ขอกราบขอบพระคุณทุกท่านที่มาร่วมงานในวันนี้แล้วพบกันใหม่ในการประชุมวิชาการครั้งต่อไปกราบขอบพระคุณและสวัสดีค่ะ
That concludes our role as a Master of Ceremonies for this morning sessions. I am Mr. Shayatach and together with Dr. Papasan Kiti Manorom. On behalf of Ratchaphuk University, we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for joining us today. Your participations had made the opening of this conference a remarkable success. We wish you a productive and inspiring afternoon in your respective sessions. Thank you very much and we're looking forward to welcome you again at our future conferences. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ